back with another book. It's Enemy Pie! It's an amazing book written by Derek Munson.
And for my best enemy, wow, one best enemy.
And we'll talk about the illustrations later. Illustrated by Para Callahan King. Well, just take a moment to appreciate the illustrations on this cover, right, Adi? Look at all the shading and detail.
It says here for my best enemy.
Ooh, I wonder who's the enemy going to be. Let's dive in. This was a book I got from my teacher in 2nd grade. Right now I'm in 4th grade. It says, to Abhijay, remember to see the good in someone and make new friends. Happy reading. Love, Miss Spencer.
Oh, it's 2020. Can I read again? 2020. To Abhijay, remember to see the good in someone and make new friends. Happy reading.
Last time we were on a book, it's been a while. Last time we were on a book review. And you guys know he's reading some of my chapter books.
I read a book that oh guys, guess what? I read a book that's 128 pages.
Wow, Adi.
Oh guys, look, I see one of this guy is his enemy, right?
Oh no, let's not spoil it.
Oh yeah, that's gotta be a spoiler.
Okay. It should have been a perfect summer. My dad helped me build a treehouse in our backyard. My sister was at camp for 3 whole weeks. Well, I guess the kid in this story doesn't like his sister too much.
Yeah, I agree.
And I was on the best baseball team in town. It should have been a perfect summer, but it wasn't. I wonder why. I'm missing a part. It was all good until Jeremy Ross moved into the neighborhood, right next door to my best friend Stanley. I did not like Jeremy Ross. He laughed at me when he struck me out in a baseball game. He had a party on his trampoline and I wasn't even invited. But my best friend Stanley was. Jeremy Ross was the one and only person on my enemy list. Dun 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 dun!
I guess Jeremy Ross is his enemy, so I guess that's why it's called Enemy Pie.
Yeah, you can see right here, this is Jeremy Ross, but it looks like they might, no spoilers.
Guys, you realize, I don't know what you're gonna, wait, you think they gave a clue here? By saying, remember to see the good in someone and make new friends. That make new friends is a clue. It's a clue in the book. So that means they're gonna be friends.
Okay, well, Jeremy Ross was the one and only person on my enemy list. Dun 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 dun! I never even had an enemy list until he moved into the neighborhood. But as soon as he came along, I needed one. I hung it up in my treehouse, where Jeremy Ross was not allowed to go. Oof, if he was there, yikes. If Jeremy Ross came into the treehouse, that wouldn't be so great for the main character in this book. Dad understood stuff like enemies. He told me when he was my age, he had enemies too. But he knew a way to get rid of them. I asked him to tell me how. Tell you how? I'll show you how, he said. He pulled a really old recipe book off the kitchen table. Inside there was a worn out scrap of paper with faded writing. Dad held it up and squinted at it. Enemy pie, he said, satisfied. You may be wondering what exactly is an enemy pie. I was wondering too, but Dad said the recipe was so secret he couldn't even tell me. I decided it must be magic. Yeah, magic. Mysterious magic. I begged him to tell me something, anything. He's like, please, Daddy, tell me. But not in a language. I said, tell me. I will tell you this, he said. Enemy pie is the fastest known way to get rid of enemies. Really? Enemy pie to get rid of enemies? Gotta check this out. I'll tell you this, he said. Enemy pie is the... Oops, sorry, we read that. Now, of course, this got my mind working. What kinds of things? Disgusting things. Yeah. I would put in a pie for an enemy. I brought Dad some weeds from the garden. But he just shook his head. I brought him earthworms and rocks. He didn't think he'd need those. I gave him the gum I'd been chewing on all morning. He gave it right back to me. I think this guy, the main character, is trying to destroy his enemy, literally.
Yeah, me too. So those worms, you die. Everything. So, suddenly when he eats a bite, we should do that happen.
Good thing you say no. I went out to play alone. I shot baskets until the balls got stuck on the roof. I threw a boomerang that never came back to me. And all the while, I listened to the sounds of my dad chopping and stirring and blending the ingredients of enemy pie. This could be a great summer after all. Enemy pie was going to be awful. I tried to imagine how horrible enemy pie is going to be. Awful. It must smell, or worse yet, what it would look like. But when I was in the backyard looking for ladybugs, I smelled something really, really, really good. As far as I could tell, it was coming from our kitchen. I was a bit confused. I went in to ask Dad what was wrong. Enemy pie shouldn't smell this good. But Dad was smart. If enemy pie smelled bad, your enemy would never eat it. He said, I could tell he made enemy pie before. The buzzer rang and Dad put on the oven mitts and pulled the pie out of the oven. It looked like a plain old pie. It looked good enough to eat. I was catching on. But still, I wasn't really sure how this enemy pie worked. What exactly did it do to enemies? Maybe it made their hair fall out. Or their breath stink. Or maybe it made bullies cry. I asked Dad, but he was no help. He wouldn't tell me a thing. But while the pie cooled, he filled me in on my job. He talked quietly. There's one part of enemy pie that I can't do. In order for it to work, you need to spend a day with your enemy. Even worse, you have to be nice to him. It's not easy, but that's the only way that enemy pie can work. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Of course I was. It sounded horrible. It was scary, but it was worth a try. All I had to do was spend one day with Jeremy Ross. You remember Jeremy Ross is the new kid who moved to the neighborhood. He's the enemy, right? Oh, yeah. So his dad is asking for him to spend an entire day with him for the enemy pie to work. This sounds kind of suspicious from the dad. Okay. It sounded horrible. It was scary, but it was worth a try. Guys, all I had to do...
You mind pausing that for a minute? I have to tell you something. So guys, you think the dad gave them a clue?
All I had to do was spend one day with Jeremy Ross. Then he'd be out of my hair for the rest of my life. I rode my bike to his house and knocked on the door. When Jeremy opened the door, he seemed surprised. He stood on the other side of the screen door and looked at me, waiting for me to say something. I was nervous. Can you play? I asked. He looked confused. I'll go ask my mom, he said. He came back with his shoes in his hand. His mom walked around the corner to say hello. You boys stay out of trouble, she said, smiling. It was strange, but I was kind of having fun with the enemy. He almost seemed nice. But of course, I couldn't tell Dad that, since he had worked so hard to make this enemy pie. Jeremy Ross liked my basketball hoop. He said he wished he had a basketball hoop, but didn't have room for one. We rode bikes for a while and played on the trampoline. Then we made some water balloons and threw them at the neighbor girls. Jeremy Ross knew how to throw a boomerang. He threw it and it came right back to him. I threw it, went over my house and into the backyard. When we climbed over the fence to find it, the first thing Jeremy Ross noticed was my treehouse. Oops! My treehouse was my treehouse. I was the boss. If my sister wanted in, I didn't have to let her. If my dad wanted in, I didn't have to let him. And if Jeremy wanted in, can we go in it? He asked. I knew he was going to ask me that, but he was the top person, the only person on my enemy list. And enemies aren't allowed in my treehouse. But he did teach me how to throw a boomerang.
Guys, you think he's going to allow him? I don't know what's going to happen. I think he's going to let it. Yeah, right? Don't you think, guys, too? Leave your answers if that's correct down below the comment. Oh, and if you think you are the clues, if there's any clues you noticed in the book, leave those clues again in the comment below. Okay, guys? Comment below.
Can we go in it? He asked. I knew he was going to ask me that, but he was the top person, the only person on my enemy list. And enemies aren't allowed in my treehouse. But he did teach me how to throw a boomerang. And he did have me over for lunch. And he did let me play on his trampoline. He wasn't being a very good enemy. Okay, I said, but hold on. I climbed up ahead of him and tore the enemy list off the wall. Remember, he wrote the enemy list with Jeremy's name in the treehouse? Good thing he cleared. Otherwise, Jeremy would have been very sad. I climbed up ahead of him and tore the enemy list off the wall. Good thing he did that. I had a checkerboard and some cards in the treehouse. And we played games until my dad called us down for dinner. We pretended we didn't hear him. And when he came out to get us, we tried to hide from him. But somehow he found us. Dad made us macaroni and cheese for dinner. My favorite. It is Jeremy's favorite too. Maybe Jeremy Ross wasn't so bad after all. I was beginning to think maybe we should just forget about enemy pie. But sure enough, after dinner, Dad brought out the pie. I watched as he cut the pie into 8 thick slices. Dad, I said, it sure is nice having a new friend in the neighborhood. I was trying to get his attention and trying to tell him that Jeremy Ross was no longer my enemy. But Dad only smiled and nodded. I think he thought I was just pretending. I'll be paused. I think that pie is just normal, right, guys? We don't know. Yep, but Dad dished up 3 plates, side by side with the big pieces of pie and giant scoops of ice cream. He passed one to me, one to Jeremy. Wow, Jeremy said, looking at the pie. My dad never makes pies like this. It was at this point I panicked. I didn't want Jeremy to eat enemy pie. He was my friend. I couldn't let him eat it. Jeremy, don't eat it. It's bad pie. I think it's poisonous or something. Jeremy's fork stopped before reaching his mouth. He crumpled his eyebrows and looked at me funny. I felt revealed. I saved his life. I was a hero. I think it's poisonous or something. Jeremy's fork stopped before reaching his mouth. He crumpled his eyebrows and looked at me funny. Because he was thinking it was bad pie his dad made, he wanted to stop Jeremy. Because he started liking Jeremy right now. But if it's so bad, Jeremy asked, then why has your dad already eaten half of it? I turned to look at my dad. Sure enough, he was eating enemy pie. Good stuff, he mumbled to a mouthful, and that was all he said. I sat there watching them eat enemy pie for a few seconds. Dad was laughing. Jeremy was happily eating, and neither of them was losing any hair. It seemed safe enough, so I took a tiny taste. Enemy pie was delicious. After dessert, Jeremy rode his bike home, but not before inviting me over to play on his trampoline in the morning. He said he'd teach me how to flip. As for enemy pie, I still don't know how to make it. I still wonder if enemies really hate it, or their hair falls out, or their breath turns bad. But I don't know if I'll ever get an answer, because I just lost my best enemy. The end. Do you realize what the dad was trying to do? He was basically making the pie. It was a normal pie, but the boy in the story, we still don't know his name, was thinking it had some very bad things in it. It makes the hair fall off, poisonous, breath stinky, something like that. And basically, the dad made him spend time for one day with his best enemy, so they become friends, and then they get to celebrate with a nice ice cream top pie.
Guy.
That's why now I realize that's why my teacher wrote that.
Yep, I was correct. That was a clue, right?
Little Abby. So you should make judgments on people, maybe like spend some time with them, see how they are, make new friends. So always remember this book when you're like at school or playing around. See if you can make some new friends and have fun. Never make judgments on anyone. Okay, guys? Think positive always. Okay, guys? I'll see you next time.
Oh, guys, wait. You should comment in your school if they read Enemy Pie. Comment down below if you read it too. Okay, guys? Bye. I'll see you next time when we read aloud with Abby and me. Bye, guys.
Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the video, and comment down below.
And
we'll be back.